what does cyber mean to you, so that our listeners can understand exactly what you're talking about?
So we're sitting in two worlds, technology supply chain, and Cyber Risk Score is one of our companies. Richard will do his explanation as a marketeer.
Sure. So cybersecurity is massive. As we know, this is a big thing. We're seeing Russian attacks. We're seeing hacks going on. I know from Hiscox that a small business is successfully hacked every 19 seconds. And that was before what's going on in the Ukraine at the moment. So it's a massive thing. And what we're finding is a lot of companies spend a lot of money looking after it, but people are then getting hacked through their supply chain. So what happens is big company spends a lot of money, millions on cybersecurity, and what happens then is they've got a small supplier who they work with, and they hack into the small supplier to get into the big company.
Wow.
So what we're trying to do is raise awareness with the bigger companies and with the smaller companies that you need to look after cybersecurity as well, because you're becoming more of a target, because they know perfectly well they can't get into a big company because it's that well defended, but if you get into the smaller one, then you can get into the bigger one that
like
way.
a Trojan horse.
Yeah, exactly.
So our mindset now is around, you would credit score a company to work with a company as to financial transitions with them. You going forward, we want to cyber risk a company as to whether your data is going to go adrift or not. And you can manage that, and you can do that going forward. And you can decide whether you want to trade with a company. Once you've broken the firewall, once the emails have gone backwards and forwards and things like that, you're vulnerable to that. So you're managing your supply chain. So we've created a product that tells you where the cyber risk and the cyber vulnerabilities of your supply chain sit, and who isn't performing well and who should be performing well because of what they've got and what they do. So there's a number of different organisations that we've looked at that give strategic advice around some of the issues that we're looking at. So cameras managing cities, security, threats around different things around, supporting police, terrorism advice and things like that. All of these are particularly vulnerable, but you can look at some smaller businesses that are particularly secure, and we're trying to inform, educate and level up all of the cyber posture of the companies that we deal with and the companies that you would want to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say, for a lot of small businesses, cybersecurity is complex, confusing and costly. So people go, I don't understand it. It seems like it's going to cost me a fortune. I'm just going to hope it doesn't impact me. So they'll get hacked and they don't know. Because once he's in your software, unless you go looking for them, you're not going to know they're there. So we kind of say, look, you've got to make it simple, straightforward and affordable for people to do. And that's how we'll get smaller businesses to actually increase their cyber posture. So we developed Cyber Risk Score. So what that does is it's just like a credit score for your organization's cybersecurity. So it'll scan your website and it gives you a score out of 1,000. Now that's as simple as we could possibly make it.
Sure.
Anybody can understand it. Score out of 1,000. And we have like a color code that, so it'll be green if it's above 900, it'll be yellow if it's above 750, it'll be orange if it's under that, and red if it's kind of in the 500s. And says immediately to a CEO or the business owner, you need to do something or you're fine. It will tell you which you are. You can then go down to the next level where we make it straightforward. And what we do is list all the vulnerabilities we found on your website, tell you how severe they are, so how much they're affecting your score, and then tell you how many times they occur. So you can actually say, well, actually, these high ones I need somebody to fix now. These medium ones can wait a bit, and these low ones I'll worry about when I've got a little bit more money in the bank. And what that allows the person to do is then go out and actually tender to see who can make the fixes for them, because we don't do the fixes. And that's very deliberate because we want to stay independent, so people know that the report is the report. We've not added in vulnerabilities that aren't there or overstated them. So you can then tender out. Whoever you tender it to can then go into the system. They go to the third level down. That tells them what the problem is, the solution, and this is all following international standards, and exactly where on the website occurs, so then they can make the changes. And what happens is you get a new report and a new score each month, just like your credit score. So you can actually see these changes have been made, my score is improving, and it's just $44.95 a month, which makes it very affordable, even for sole traders.
Wow. That's very comprehensive. And in terms of the criteria, again, for businesses out there, is it right the way from a one-man band to the biggest business out there?
Absolutely. So you'd have the one-man bands would be looking at how can I secure my website. The huge businesses, though, it's more about them looking at their supply chain.
Okay.
So what they'd be able to do is send, request the score from their suppliers, and we're working on some functionality this year, so they'll be able to send them an invite saying, if you accept this invite, I can see your cyber risk score, and it'll update each month. So then they can plot out the supply chain and see the numbers. They obviously can't see the report. They'd see the numbers and the colour code to know who's secure and who needs to do a bit of work. And talking to a lot of the bigger companies, they've said they'd want to set their own figures on what information they'd happily share. So it might be you have to be above 700 if you want to supply us with anything, but if we're going to share some confidential information with you, we're going to share some financial information, then you might need to be above 900. But everybody said to us we'd set our own scores. You've got a score and you've got your guidelines, but we'd have our own thing of saying we want to have that. And we think this is going to become more and more the thing as companies realise they're exposed through their supply chain of smaller suppliers, and it's therefore incumbent on them to say, actually, I can see your score, can you please improve?